Well, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be with you all today. I am your host, Dr. Tsitsi Hongwei, and we are here today for an exciting conversation. You're going to learn a lot. You may get emotional, but let's get right to it. I am your host. I am the host of Reach Higher Mountaintops. Let me talk a little bit about what we are all about. I am the chief executive of Higher Mountaintops, and we help early professionals prepare for their next career transition with clarity and confidence. But what we really are about is helping people to move from their day to day routine to truly living that life of significance. How many of you all know that it is so important to think about the meaning of life? We are in this life not just for ourselves, but we are truly here to add value to others and live that life of significance, which is what I call reaching higher mountaintops. And what more a pleasure to have my guest today, Mr. Cedric LaFleur, who truly exemplifies that true mantra that I have, which is reaching higher mountaintops. Let me introduce my guest today. We have Cedric LaFleur. He is the chief executive of LaFleur Leadership Institute, where he has created a successful company that delivers workshops, seminars, and keynote speeches and coaching for organizations all over the country, focusing on leadership development. But today, I am so excited for him to talk about his book, this groundbreaking book, this visionary author of $1 Million Beach House, My Journey to an Extraordinary, as he likes to say, an extraordinary life. And he is also the author of The Blueprint for Manager Success. Let me have you take the floor, Cedric LaFleur himself.
Well, hey, I am excited to be here with you, Dr. Sitsi Hongwei. I am so excited to be on this show today to talk about $1 Million Beach House, my journey to an extraordinary life. Thank you for inviting me. Let's get running.
Awesome. And for those that are tuning in today, feel free to add comments, feel free to let us know, where you're tuning in from. We would love to hear from you. So we're going to get right to it, Cedric. I'm really excited to learn more about this book, but also maybe we could get a little tea. Are we going to get a little tea tonight?
Hey, yeah, we got the tea right here, baby.
All right now. So let's start with this. Why did you decide to write this book right now?
Well, so there's a couple of reasons, but the main reason is because the timing was right now. Okay, when I wrote the Blueprint for Manager Success book, um, a mentor of mine, he's a retired executive, and he read the book and he sent me a text message and he says, "Nice book. It's a good primer for leaders, but that's not your book yet." He says, "You have a personal book in you, and you need to write that." And so in that moment, I said, I am going to write one. And I had an outline for years. People have told me, "Hey, you should write a book." And I was like, "I'm not really interested right now. And I have other things that I'm doing and all this kind of stuff." But when he said that in that text message to me, it hit me. I needed to get going with that book. And so I went out on the journey for a year, and I was really getting people prepped for me to write this book. And it matched up with the timing that I was going to build this beach house, because I didn't have a name for the book at the time, but it matched up in timing. And I went out over, really, now it's been about 18 months where I just every day I was posting about living on the beach, living this life on the beach. And every day I posted for 18 months a picture on a beach. And it culminated in this book and the documentary that premiered last Saturday.
I love that. And the documentary, if y'all haven't tuned in, was phenomenal. Truly just kind of summarized his story. And truly, it was just so wonderful to see your family in the documentary. And so, thank you for sharing that with the world. We truly were touched by that documentary. So, I want to thank you for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I definitely, we enjoyed putting it together. There were, this film crew that was here several times, filming different things and setting up and doing it and retake and doing it and retake and all that type stuff. But once it premiered, I sent the CEO of the company, Twice Media. I sent them her a text message. And I said, once again, you know how to make me look good. So, because she did a phenomenal job. Her team did a phenomenal job with putting that together.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And because I've gotten some insight into the book, I want you to
Did
talk.
you?
Maybe, Madam President has a little bit of some tea. Talk a little bit about you got married at a very young age. What made you decide to do that?
You mean outside my girlfriend's mother, who's my mother-in-law now, saying you have an option: she get an abortion or you get married. I mean, outside of that, you mean? Uh, so outside of that, I didn't. My personal belief is not in a woman having an abortion. No one forced me to get her pregnant, so I had an obligation to get married, whether I was ready or not. Because was I ready? No. I talk about that in the book. Was I ready? No. What did I have the finances to handle that at the time? No. Was I mature enough to handle that at the time? I believe I was mature enough to handle that. But I never thought about getting married when I was growing up. I thought about having kids, but never thought about getting married, not once. But in that moment, it was the right thing to do. And I felt good about it in the moment. After it was over, I didn't question the decision I made. That's really what happened. I write about it in the book, and obviously that's how the documentary starts, with that phone call conversation. It was a real conversation that happened, and now it's 36 years later, and she's still blessed to be married to me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. How many kids do you have?
So we have two kids. We have a daughter and a son. They both live here in Houston. They both are graduated from college. My son graduated from grad school. They were athletes, and I don't know where they get all the athletic prowess from, but they were. My daughter played college and pro basketball. My son played college football. Yeah. And then we'll have a grandson here in a few weeks,
Yeah.
and yeah, I already know that he's gonna, probably play for the Steelers one day.
Well, that might be controversial.
Hey, he won't have a choice. He won't have a choice. I'll make sure the Roonies pick him up.
All right.
See, what you're going to learn tonight is you got to put things out there in the universe. When you put things out in the universe, they typically will come to you and come true. So I'm putting out in the universe that one day he will play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's out there now. And before he's even stepped one foot on earth, that's going to happen. I'll be an old guy sitting in a rocking chair watching. That's my grandson.
I love that. I love that for you. Okay. Tell me a little bit about an incident in the book, and I actually wanted to just hear more from you on this. I know it is truly a heartbreaking incident that happened to you as a 5 year old, being locked in a closet, and you were scared. Tell me a little bit about what did that do to young Cedric specifically?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so we were, as my mother's boyfriend, and he was a horrible person. And whenever my little brother and I would do things that he didn't like, he didn't approve of, just kids playing, making noise, jumping around, and all this type of stuff, right? Normal kid stuff. He would get upset and he would lock us in the closet, and we had to stay there until he said we could get out. And think about a 5 year old kid. That's very, very traumatic. It can be very traumatic to a 5 year old kid, and I was always scared of being in that closet because it was a dark room, especially when the closet door is closed and there's nothing else in there beside just you two. Can't make noise, can't do anything, just sitting there, right? But what I would tell you is that in those moments, I would always dream of being somewhere else. And that somewhere else was always dreaming of being at my grandparents' house. And I started asking my grandmother and my grandfather if I could come and live with them. And they thought about it for a while, and I don't know how long it was, but I don't know if it was weeks or months, but it seemed like a long time to me. And they finally made a decision to come and pick me up from there and have me go and live with them. And that was a great day for me. It was a great day for getting out of that environment. And I never stepped foot back at my mom's. As long as she lived in that apartment, I never stepped foot back there ever again.
Hmm.
And I can remember my mother, the way my mom told me I was going to live with my grandparents. She said, "Hey, your grandmother wants to talk to you." And I got on the phone and she said, "Hey, you're going to come and live with us." And I was just like, "Oh, happy day," right? And there's a whole backstory, the rest of the story on that, but you got to get the book to get the rest of that story. To talk about that I talk about what happened after that, and it was a great journey for me to move from there to my grandparents' house. And I will tell you that if you are a parent out there, protect your children. Don't let your children suffer that type of existence, because it can damage them. I think, you know, I became a better parent because of those things. There are several different things that made me become a better parent, but that was one of those things that I would never do something like that to a child.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that, Cedric. I just want to give our audience tuning in, just a moment to just kind of take that in, and for those that are tuning in today, welcome. You heard this story that she shared, and truly the importance of your role as a parent. And what I do like about what you said, though, Cedric, is it's almost a metaphor of what you said, and maybe it was subtle. You said you always dreamed of being somewhere else, and that was a physical location. But I think,
Mhm.
knowing what I know about you, I think that sort of represents where you are now today. The fact that you were always a dreamer, and knew there was, going to be that there was a way out.
Mhm.
So I want to just thank you for sharing that. Obviously, that was a difficult moment for you and a difficult time. So I want to thank you for sharing that and your courage to share that story with us. Thank you very
So,
much.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Glad to share it. It's easy to share it now. I will tell you, when I was writing the book, it was very emotional for me. There are moments in the book that you're going to laugh. There are some things in there you may cry about. It's a very good book, and I give you a lot of tea. And just in case somebody don't understand what that means by giving them the tea, and I pointed out when I'm giving you the tea, I said, "Here is the tea," and I put it in bold. So if you miss it, something's wrong. Okay, send the book back to me. Uh, but I give you a lot of tea, and what I'm doing is giving you the backstory,
Mm.
right? I don't. When I started out writing this book, one of the things I wanted to make sure that I do, because it was a personal book, um, I wanted to give people the backstory of what was happening in the moment and my memory of what was happening in the moment, right? I didn't just want to sugarcoat it. It's a book of inspiration and a book of overcoming. Um, but, I also share the tragedies, the difficult things, the things where I failed as well, and then I give you tips and tools of how to overcome those things. And you're right. I've always been a dreamer, and getting through those difficult moments, dreaming that I was somewhere else, helped me in those difficult moments. But get the book. She'll share the link with you. Get the book so you can understand and read all the details.
You need to get the book because that was just a little bit. And in fact, while we are transitioning into another part of our time together here, just wanted to give a shout out to those that are tuning in today. For those that are tuning in today, welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to put in the chat, where you're tuning in for, or just say hello to Cedric and I here today. This is Reach Higher Mountaintops. We are honored to have Cedric LaFleur today. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a mixer here because you and I know that, laughter is good for the soul,
That's what
obviously.
they tell me is very good for the soul. And so if you want some laughter, stay tuned in. Send me a comment in message. I mean, type a comment in message so we can a question or something. So I can answer that question, and then we'll dive into more into the book. So let's run.
Definitely, definitely. So we're going to get right to it here, Cedric. All right, you talked about the Steelers here and your grandson.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to stir up any controversy or anything like that right before, the season starts. But who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl this coming year?
Yeah, well, the logical choice, I would say the Steelers, but I'm not like some of those other fans who have that star on their helmet that every year they believe that their team's going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not that delusional. I think that the Steelers will be in the playoffs, but I think that the favorite still has to be Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a phenomenal dude. If he can win a Super Bowl on one leg, imagine what he can do. We have two. I believe the favorites are still going to be Kansas City Chiefs, but let's just say hopefully they'll have to go through the Pittsburgh Steelers to get there.
Okay. Okay. All right. Remember that, y'all. Did you hear what he said? He's predicted the winner for the Super Bowl. So we're just going to put it out there right there.
Exactly.
All right. Another question. I've been really, really curious about this. Let's get right to it. Wasn't quite sure the best timing to ask this question. So 2 years ago, you went on a search, looking for your next president for your fan club. And so my question is, what was the vetting process and what was the search involved in the final selection and the unanimous decision to elect me as your next president of the Cedric LaFleur fan club forever with unlimited terms? I know that was a good question, but tell us a little bit about that process.
Okay. So here's the point in the show where I have to, brag on the the host, I guess. So, there's one fan club for the Cedric LaFleur fan club, and there's really only one logical choice, and that's Dr. Sitsi Hungway to be the president of that fan club. And that's because, one, she is everything Cedric. She is an action oriented person. She reminds me that because I say action all the time, she takes action. She's a detailed oriented person. She loves to do things new. In fact, tonight is her first live, right, podcast. And that's because I was not going to do a recorded podcast. So we have to do it live. So that's why you're the logical choice. And there was, the only vetting is your name you have to have doctor in front of your name, and it had to be, the last name had to be Hungway, and the first name had to start with a T. If you pass that process, then you will be the president.
Wow, that was a lot of people.
Yeah.
Was it about 200 you had to go through?
Yeah, we had to interview probably about 210 people.
Wow, I'm honored.
Well, thank you for being the president of the Cedric LaFleur Playing Club. I love it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming here. So let's get right back to it. Let's talk a little bit more about the book. Yeah, I need a little more tea here, just a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about your time, at Abbott Laboratory. Tell me a little bit about that. You retired at 50 in 2018. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So, Abbott is one of the top 10 largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. It's a great company and to work for. And it was interesting when I got a call to interview with Abbott. It was April Fool's Day, 1996. I'll never forget it. I had been out on an interview for a lab director's job. And I got home and Tammy said, "Hey, you got a call from Abbott. And here's the lady's name. Her name was Christy Schultz. I'll never forget it." And I called her, and literally the first 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes, but probably 2 minutes, I was getting her to convince me that it was not a practical joke, because it was April Fool's Day, and I spent several time there questioning her on this, and finally we set up an interview, and that went well, and the initial interview went well, and then they said, "Hey, we want to fly you to Dallas." Da da da. So I go in an interview, and then I spend 22 years there in a lot of different jobs. We were looking for an organization where you could grow yourself and live in different parts of the country. We moved from Florida to Dallas, from Dallas to Houston, from Houston to Chicago, from Chicago back to Houston. You literally can live, and there are people that started in the U.S. and they moved to Europe, Asia, Latin America, Canada, and that's what Abbott is all about, right? Delivering healthcare, quality healthcare to different people. And in my career there, I did sales, did marketing, and I was a technical person when I first started. But I had a really good career there with Abbott. And when I left, I was in charge of a sales region for Abbott, pretty big sales region from Arizona all the way through to Texas, and I went to Memphis as well. So it was a pretty big region that I covered in my time there with different teams. But I will tell you that even though I spent 22 years there were some great times, but there was also some really bad times, right? And I talk about this in detail in the book. I talk about some of the great leaders that I had the privilege to work for, but I also talk about some not so great leaders, some people that I just don't understand how they're in leadership positions, right? I talk about the exciting times that I had with different sales teams, and I talk about some of the difficult things. You know, being a man of color, which I am. You know, there's some things that you go through, and I talk about that. I share those experiences in the book, right? Through my career, I refuse to let play the race card, because when you play it, if you pull that race card, you got to be prepared for a whole lot of things come at you. So I kept the race card out of it, although I believe that some of the things that I experienced was because of my skin color, and some of my counterparts didn't experience some of those things. So, for example, and I go a little bit more in detail in the book about this, but for example, I had a rep that told me that within the first month I was on the job, and he was reporting into me that he had never worked for a black person before, and he didn't know that he could tolerate that, me telling him what to do. My counterparts never had to go through a person of color telling them that they'd never worked for a white person before, right? And those are some of the things that you go through, and sometimes they just kind of like are swept to the side, and you deal with it. My director at the time was very, very good with dealing with it, and helping to make sure that that didn't happen again. So I was always appreciative to him for that. And he was one of the good leaders that I worked for. But I've also worked for some bad ones, right? Again, some of those people, you feel sorry for them. And I talk about that in the book. I don't mention names, but I talk about their poor leadership. I had one lady that I worked for. She was just a horrible leader. I was glad the day that she retired. Abbott was a better company when she retired. But I write about those things in a book. And again, what I want you to understand about the book is I write about good things in the book, and I write about those things that didn't work out so great. But what I want you to understand also is, in your career, there are going to be good times and there are going to be bad times. You can't just quit every job and say, hey, I'm out of here, and all that type of stuff, right? Don't run from challenge. I enjoyed the challenge, and I think it made me a better and stronger person for it.
Mm. I love what you shared about, just understanding over your, 22 years at Abbott, that there will be good and bad times. And I know that may sound cliche, but as I'm speaking to our audience today, and especially our millennials, I'm a millennial myself, or Gen Zs, those who may be earlier starting in their career, I think what you shared is truly actually going to possibly, help them to rethink some of the challenges that they may be going through themselves. But you also spoke about seeing what bad leadership looks like as well. Can you talk a little bit about when you do have exposure to good leadership and bad leadership? And then obviously you are today the chief executive of LaFleur Leadership Institute. How would you describe your leadership style today? And how did you learn how to be a leader? That's a lot of young people are looking to discover.
Yeah. So, when I first started out as a leader in corporate America, I would say that I wasn't a great leader. I knew how to get a team to move and to do things, right? But I would say that in terms of influencing them. So today we talk about influence, impact, and empower people, right? Influencing them in a good way. When I was first a new leader at Abbott, I would say that I wasn't a great leader in terms of influencing them in the right way. I could get them to move, but it was more positional type leadership, right? Do it because I said do it, and and we didn't have any conversation or dialogue. And this is my way or the highway, right? Definitely not the way you should lead. Not the way that but I went through leadership growth and transformation, and that's how I learned to become a great leader. And I started seeing some leaders. In fact, there's one divisional vice president that told me there was a book I should read, and I did read the book, and got some really good insights from it, right? And then I started paying attention to other leaders and what they were doing and how they do it. It made a difference to me. And in the book, I put a quote in here about Miles Monroe. It says, "True leaders don't invest in buildings." He says, "Jesus never built a building. They invest in people." Why? Because success without a successor is failure. So your legacy should not be in buildings, programs, or projects, but in people. And once I grasped that concept, made a difference in who I was as a leader. And then I started thinking about leaders that I had seen. My very first leader that I grew up seeing was my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And a man of few words. When he spoke, people listened. So he had influence, right? Mm-hmm. When I look at some of the leaders that I followed within my career, and I write about those people in the book. Leo Serrano, who was the guy that hired me in my first job outside of the military, right? I write about my very first sales manager, Bill Minix, right? Awesome former military guy, leader. I write about Joe Nimmers, who I've talked to you about before, is an awesome guy in the book. I write about my manager, director, Dan Stretler, who was my director when I was in global marketing. And so I talk about these people, and I talk about their leadership style and what they brought to the table and what things I picked up from them. So I share those things in the book, and there's a quote that John Maxwell says, and I put it in the book as well, as the law of buy-in. It says, "People buy into the leader, then the vision." Mm. And if you want people to follow you, you have to influence them in a positive way. And I believe that today I'm living my life like that, and people follow me, and in the book you're going to understand what great leadership looks like.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And as you're speaking, one thing that resonates is that you mentioned the influences, in helping you become a better leader. And you and I have talked about, one of your mentors, Joseph Niemers. And I'm actually curious to learn more. And this is for somebody that may be looking for a mentor today, because that's a common question. How do I find a mentor? But then what does that mentee and mentor relationship look like? Can you talk us through a little bit more so we can learn more about that?
Yeah, and mentors are all around you. You just, in some cases, never look at them as being a mentor. You don't consciously say that they are a mentor. But if it's a person that you follow, a person that influences you, a person that impacts you, guess what? They are a mentor. Some mentors are people that you see every day, and some are people that you just know about and read about, but you follow them. So that's influence that they have on you. But to your question, you see, where people go wrong, they'll get a mentor, but where they go wrong is they don't listen to the mentor. You see, if a mentor tells you to go from point A to point B, then you should go from point A to point B, right? That's why you have them as a mentor. But what happens is a lot of people will get a mentor and then they want to say things like, well, that worked for you, that may not work for me. Well, they have this excuse or that excuse or this excuse or that excuse. It's just excuses. If you want to be better, you have to do better. And if you get a mentor, you have to listen to them and take their suggestions and recommendations. The next thing about a mentor-mentee relationship is one that it is the mentee's responsibility. The responsibility is not on the mentor. The mentee is supposed to come with questions. The mentee is the person that should take the lead on setting up the next meeting. The mentee should take the lead on, hey, here are the action items I completed from our last meeting. It shouldn't be the mentor trying to pull it out of you, right? If it's that type of thing, then you're not a good mentee. And so a mentor has a great opportunity to pour into you, but it's not their job to lead the process. There's no thing of let's set up a meeting with the mentor and then you say, okay, go. And they're supposed to just tell you all kind of stuff. No, you need to come to the meeting with questions. You need to come to the follow-up meeting with what action items you completed from that meeting. You need to come prepared and ready to go. So.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. He is giving us gems tonight. If you thought he was going to be talking about one thing, we are getting everything that we need tonight. And you said something, Cedric. The mentee's responsibility in this relationship with the mentor. I feel that that is one of the biggest takeaways of what you mentioned today. Thank you for sharing that with us, because it's one thing to want a mentor, but then we're talking a little bit more about how to foster that relationship and your role as a mentee in this relationship. For those who are listening, my early professionals, Gen Z, millennial, any stage in life, for those who are seeking out a mentor, please, please, please pay attention to what he's shared with us today, because these are truly golden gems that we are learning today. So thank you for sharing that. So speaking of mentorship, because I'm all about mentorship, but I learned about mentorship a little bit later, and not that I'm, far along in my life, but one of my questions for you is specifically for men, actually, in particular, for our men that may be tuning in today. We may have men that are tuning in that are in their early 20s, but we could also have some men that may be tuning in that are in a later part of their life. So, question for that one may have is, why do I need a mentor potentially in all stages of my life, regardless of my age? Can you talk a little bit about that as it relates to personal development specifically?
Yeah, there are always people running ahead of you. And if you think that you have all the answers, then you're truly lost. Your emotional intelligence is not very high. Your self-awareness is not very high. Your social awareness is not very high. So we always need mentors. We always need someone who's running ahead of us to help us see the roadblocks that are in the way, see the potential obstacles that we could go through, and they can help us talk through those things, right? It's not that they will block you from any obstacles, but they can help you overcome the obstacle when you get there. See, it's been said, if you wait to prepare until if you don't prepare until an opportunity comes, then that means you are too late, right? It's the same thing with an obstacle. If you wait to get ready for an obstacle until it shows up, then you're too late. So men need mentors, women need mentors. Men need mentors, women need mentors. It doesn't matter your age. The only thing that matters is you have an open mind and a willingness to go above and beyond and to do something greater than where you are today. And if you're prepared to be teachable and listen to your mentor, then go out and get a mentor. If you know that you're not coachable, if you know that you're not willing to listen, if you know that you're not ready for those things, then don't go get a mentor, because they're not going to help you, because you're not going to do those things. You see, here's one thing I always test people. When I talk to audiences, I always put up my contact information. I have one phone number, one email address. Now, I'm not saying anything about people that have more than those things, but I don't need that. One, I put it out there for people to call. If you have a problem, if you are struggling with something, call me. Now, here's the thing. I retired at 50, multimillionaire, paid cash for $1 million house. Started a third company here with LaFleur Leadership Institute. Had a lot of success. I put my number out there and tell people, here it is. Call me. I'll help you. You know what happens? They just say they will, and they never do. You know why? They're not ready to go to another level yet. They only say it in their mind that they're ready. But people who are truly ready to go to the next level, they'll take the initiative and say, I have this dude's phone number. He said, call him and ask him any question and he'll help me. They'll call. But I do it on purpose because I just want to see. I'll go to these conferences and you'll see young professionals. Oh, they're go-getters. They're blah, 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 and all this type of stuff. I said, hey, if a millionaire gave you their number and said, give them a call and they'd help you, would you call them? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Then I do it. I think there's only been, in the 7 years I've done it, there's only been 2 people has ever called based on that.
Wow.
2.
Wow.
That lets me know that everybody's not ready for the next level. They only think they are. You see, if they could magically pop their fingers and be where I'm at right now, then they would love it. That's what they think, right? But they don't want to do what I did to get here, so they don't call. And it doesn't matter if they're black or they're white. No obstacle trumps a person with passion operating at a higher level.
Wow. 2 people.
We can test it out tonight, and 2 people in 7 years. We can test it out tonight, right? We're going to put my cell phone number in the in the chat. It's 832-722-0522. We'll just see how many people call.
All right, everyone. You heard from Cedric.
I've been where you're trying to go.
He's been where you're trying to go. We're going to put his contact information in the chat here. His number is 832-722-0522. His email as well will be in the chat. It's your decision. Do you want to go to the next level? That's the question. Do you really, really want to go to the next level, and are you ready? That's what we're talking about today. And if you're not,
I mean, it's okay. It's okay if you're not. Not everybody's ready, right? And that's totally okay. But if you're ready, all you got to do is call Osetti.
Call Osetti. All right. So this has been such a rich conversation. Speaking of what you've been talking about right now, I think I'm hearing some music in my ears right now. I'm feeling like jamming. Let's talk a little bit about the other side of Cedric. Would you rather sing or would you rather dance?
Sing.
Okay. And what's your favorite song?
Say it again.
What's your favorite to sing?
I don't know that I have a favorite to sing. I'll listen to old school R&B any and every day. Sometimes I sit out on. In fact, when we're done with this, I'm going to sit out on my balcony, and that's what I'm going to do is put on some old school R&B, and I'm just gonna lay there and listen to the water, um, and the wind blow, and chill. But I'm a Prince fan. I'm a Michael Jackson fan, and I'm a Gabrielle Union. Oh, Gabrielle, she don't even sing. I'm sorry. Never mind.
I was gonna say, Cedric, give us a little bit of. It looks like you have the tea tonight.
But Gabrielle Union, man. Woo-woo. You know. I'm banned from going to Miami because Dwayne Wade's nervous. You see all of this, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm out."
All right. So, if you could be a superhero for 1 week, we all love our superheroes. Who would you be and why?
Yeah, I would be Superman because he flies, and I love flying. I dream about flying one day, being able to just jump up and fly. That's the only reason why. All the other stuff that he does, I don't really care. It's just to have the superpower to fly. Um, I would love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'd call me Super Sad.
Say that again, Cedric.
Super Sad.
Super sad. I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
Oh my God.
You sure you only want that for 1 week?
Oh, I'll take it for longer.
Oh, okay.
If I could have that power forever, that'd be great. But yeah, that would be. I'm waiting for them to come out with that flying suit and make it a reasonable price, so I can get that, and maybe I can get it on layaway or something.
Oh, okay. We can make that happen. The fan club can make that happen.
Okay, all right, y'all go ahead and make it happen. I love it. I'd appreciate it.
But I have to be careful what I put out there because we have to make sure it's going to happen. But yes, give me a couple of days. We'll work on that.
Okay, all right, that'll work.
All right. Would you rather bungee jump or skydive? I'm actually not sure about this one.
Yeah. One, I'll skydive, but of those two, but I can tell you I'm not doing either one. My son has tried to convince me to skydive. He's done it twice, and it won't happen. Yeah, no. One person, a young lady, Christiana, that I mentor, I know she wants to do that skydiving deal, but nah, it's all right. I'm good. There's no point in jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. And bungee jumping, that just is like rubber bands break all the time. And, nah, I'm good.
You heard him right. But what if you have the super sad powers? You'll be fine. You can fly.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
fly.
Just let me fly. I won't need to test. I won't need bungee jumping or skydiving if I can fly.
You heard that from Cedric, the man himself here.
Absolutely.
Only wants to fly. He only wants to fly. All right. So we're going to actually say hello to Principal Gordon. We love Principal Gordon. He said good evening, Higher Mountaintop community tonight. So
hello there.
Mr. Gordon is tuning in from New Jersey tonight. So hello. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the book. And before we get that, as we're talking right now, I think people are getting the vibe that you're so accessible, you're so humble. Tell us a little bit about why has the success not changed you?
Well, so, here's the thing. I believe that, one, God didn't put me on earth to be successful, did not be accessible to people, right? Jesus Christ was accessible to people. I'm not saying that I'm Jesus Christ, but on earth, probably I'm the closest to it. No, I believe that I have an obligation to help other people do some of the things that I've done, even go higher than I am. So I've not let this stuff go to my head because it could be gone in a blink of an eye, right? But my job is to help other people do this, and you can't do it if you put up all these walls. I believe that if you are um, very superficial, then you're going to put up walls. You're going to put up barriers so that people can't reach you, right? I'm not. I'm very transparent, easy to reach, and that's on purpose. That's very intentional. I don't need a virtual assistant. I don't need multiple emails because not I'm not like getting a lot of emails besides spam anyway. I don't need multiple phone numbers because nobody's calling anyway. I think the only people I talked to on my phone today is because I called them, except for my exterminator. He called me. Other than that, the other three people I talked to, I called them. So I don't need all of that. Just stay accessible to people. I bet if most entrepreneurs looked at their phone and their phone log, they'd probably see that they're not getting many phone calls, but yet they have two phone numbers,
Hmm.
wasting money, right? Now, if you start making millions of dollars and you're jet setting all over the country, here, there, and yonder, and all this type of stuff, maybe I can understand it. But most entrepreneurs are not there yet. I'm not. I'm doing a lot of work and making a lot of money in my business, but I'm not there where I need to have a second phone number. You put up roadblocks for people when you're not comfortable with who you are
Hmm.
because you're putting on airs. I'm very comfortable with who I am. I'm comfortable with my strengths. I'm comfortable with my weaknesses. I'm okay that not everybody's going to like Osset. He said that's all right. There are going to be some people that love me. There are going to be some people that kind of like me. There are going to be some people that hate me. That's okay. I'm totally good with that. I don't need to put up roadblocks for people reaching me and contacting me and putting on like a highfalutin and all that type stuff. Just because you live in a $1 million house doesn't mean I can't talk to the guy down the street that's living in an apartment. I've lived in an apartment before, right? Just while this house was being built, I was living in an apartment, right? Um, just because I have a nice car doesn't mean I can't talk to the guy that's driving a old hoopty. I've driven a hoopty before, so I just don't have time to put on all those things, and so I'm gonna continue to be humble and transparent and accessible.
I love that. I love that. And for our audience that's tuning in today, you heard what he said. I loved what you said. I myself had to write it down. You put up roadblocks when you're not comfortable with who you are. Think
Yeah.
about that for a moment. That's a word. That's a word right there.
Hmm.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love that. So I'm actually curious about this book, because I've already pre-ordered my book, obviously. You can get a signed copy of the book, and we will attach the link as well again in the chat. You need to get this book coming out in mid-September.
I'll have the books in my hand September 10th or 11th,
Mm,
and I will be autographing them and shipping them out. And normally, at the very beginning, I autograph every book about 3 or 4 months after the launch. You'll order them directly from Amazon.
mhm.
But September 10th or 11th is what Amazon tells me that I'll have them here. I ordered 200 of them today. We've done great with. We've only been taking orders for a week and a half, and 200 books ordered. But that's a long way away from what our goal is. It's called $1 Million Beach House. I need to sell 1 million books. All right. So we have a long way to go, and whether that's Principal Garden in New Jersey or whether that is someone on the other side of the world, I need you to place, some orders for this book. Give it out. Give the book out to someone else, right? Here's what I want you to know. Part of the book is about my journey, but the other part of the book is questions prompts that I'm going to ask you to help you. So I tell you something that happened, how I overcame it, and then we give you prompts to help you write what you're going to do to overcome whatever obstacle you're having. Every chapter in the book, there are action steps that we get you to take, right? It doesn't matter which part of the book, and in fact, in the back of the book, I'm gonna ask you for your feedback, right? What did you like? What did you love about the book? And I send my one email address, boom, so you can send me an email, right? At the end of the book, we're going to ask you, now it's time to start your journey. And we left space in the book throughout for you to write your stuff. So really, by the time you're done, you're going to have a couple of chapters already written in your book for your journey. See, it's not just about me. It's bigger than that. It's about what action steps you're going to take to improve your finances, what action steps you're going to take to improve your relationship, what action steps are you going to take to improve your career, what action steps are you going to take to go to the next level, right? You have to talk about your peak moments in there as well. And I want you to be very transparent, talk about those not so peak moments. You know what those are. They're different from mine, but you know what those are. So this book is going to be one of those workbooks like Think and Grow Rich that you carry with you because it's going to help you start the next part of your life. It's going to change you. It's a phenomenal book, and I'm not just saying it because I'm the author. I'm just saying it because it is.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And for those who are tuning in, you need to get this book. The link has been posted in the chat. And one of the things that when I first heard about this book, and Cedric and I had this conversation, is, there's so many books out there, as we both know, and so my question actually was, and I gained some insight into what this book was really about. I thought I knew what the book was about, but what I love about your book is how you are involving the reader to take some action, to think into some of the things that you're talking to chapter after chapter. And I really think that that's what's really going to separate this book from any other book that somebody may be reading. It's going to truly be adding value to the reader, not because they're hearing your story, but because they're going to have some takeaways from themselves. They're going to be writing down, as you said, from the content that they get from the book so that they can move forward and also get to the next level, as you're saying here. So thank you so much for sharing this, because we really, really want to have that awareness that it's really not just about hearing someone's story. What are you going to do next? He
Right.
talked to us about taking action. Are you ready to go to the next level? And as he said, if you're not ready, that's okay. But I just love everything that you've shared with us today. And so as we're looking to close tonight's conversation, which was super, super rich, I want you to talk a little bit about, give us some insight into, you talk about the grind, you've talked a little bit about your t-shirt that you have that says, just do it. I've seen that. And
No,
I'm
it says
sure
just did it.
just did it. Yes, let's get that right. Just did it. Talk to me a little bit about, what does that grind and that hard work look like to get to your level of success? Because as you said, it was a journey. And talk to us a little bit about your financial difficulties and how you got to your level of success. So there's twofold question to this. You're going to talk about where you came from financially and the work that you had to put in to get to where you are today.
Yeah, well, my financial story, a lot of people have heard it a lot of different times, and I'll just tell you, we were broke. I mean, you want to know broke? We were broke, right? Even the lint in my pockets was like laughing at me because we didn't have the money. I just want to tell you that even in those broke moments, you have to have the willingness to say, we're going to overcome this. You have to have the mindset to continue going. Even in those broke moments, I continued going. You know, Dave Ramsey says that winning with money is 80% behavior, 20% head knowledge. So what that means is what you do every day is the difference maker. And it's not about the knowledge that you have, it's the behavior that makes all the difference in the world, right? So that part of it was, we talk about that a lot, and being broke, but we had the fortitude to go and find someone else. And I went and found Charles J. Givens to help me go to a different level from where I was financially. But then restate the second part of your question again.
The second part of the question is talk a little bit about the grind and the hard work.
Yeah. So, here's what I'll tell you, and I have this prompts in the book as well. Are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck? Are you tired of being broke? Are you willing to change your spending habits? Are you willing to say no to going on vacation today so that next time you can go on vacation and pay cash for it? Are you willing to say no to buying that new car today so that in the future you can pay cash for that car? Are you willing to tell your friends and family, hey, I can't do that because we're going to another level? If you are, then you understand the grind, right? And the grind is all about every day being willing to tell yourself that you can't do something now because you're working on something. When somebody says, we're going on vacation, come go with us as a group, and you want to go, you have to say no. We said no to a lot of those things, right? When you saw your friends buying new cars, the grind is you said, no, I'm not going to buy a new car. I'm going to still ride with this old car until I'm in a better position. The grind is, when you are starting your business, it's don't give yourself an out. You see, when I used to travel, when I was working for Abbott, I was in a plane just about every day, 3 or 4 days every week. I was in a plane traveling to somewhere to travel with one of my reps, right? But guess what I was doing at night in the hotel? We would. I'm gonna give you the picture. I get up at 5 or 6 in the morning, get to the airport, get on a plane, fly to somewhere. We travel all day to seeing clients. We go to dinner. It's about 6 or 7 o'clock. I get dropped off at the hotel, and guess what I would do? Get in my hotel room, and I take care of some company emails, and then I'm grinding on my business till 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Then I get up at 6 the next morning, and I field travel with that rep, and then I fly back to Houston, and then when I get home, I take care of company email, and then I was grinding late night on my business, and I did that for years and years. While I was working in carpenter. That's the grind. But on the other side of the grind, man, you come out on the better side of it. But here's what you have to also do. You have to say no to those naysayers, because see, they're gonna come after you, right? And here's what I do when those naysayers come after you, right? I ask them, so tell me, where are you financially? Are you prepared to retire today? Tell me, can you pay your house off today? Tell me if you're financially sound right now. Do you have a fully funded emergency fund, right? If you don't have any of those things, then you're just a naysayer. I can't listen to you. I can't take advice from you because you're not doing those things, right? And that's the grind right there. And I write about this in the book, and I tell you how to overcome those things, and I tell you how to the Dave Ramsey has these baby steps. I walk you through those baby steps because I did them. I understand it, how to go to that whole next level. And when you decide that you want your life to be different, guess what? You're going to do the things that you need to do. And let me tell you this: passion trumps obstacles and age all the time. You need to reinforce with your kids, don't quit dreaming. No matter what's going on, you're never too old, you're never the wrong color, you're never too disabled, you're never the wrong political party. It doesn't matter if you grew up, and I grew up in Louisiana. It doesn't matter if you grew up in Gosport or in Texas in River Oaks, which is a high expensive area. It doesn't matter if you went to Ralph Wilson Elementary School in the poor part of town, or you went to T.S. Cooley in the other good part of town. It doesn't matter if you graduated from Washington Marion High School in the poor part of town, or graduated from Barb High School in the good part of town. It doesn't matter if your parents are lower class, middle class, or have no class at all. See, what matters is your mindset. There's never an obstacle big enough to keep a person with passion operating at a higher level from winning. You can win. I did it. Many other people have done it. All you have to understand and remember that today matters. You have to take charge of your life. Nobody's going to come and give it to you. Nobody gave it to me. Nobody's going to give it to you on a silver platter. If you want a mentor, get a mentor. Be willing to listen to them. If you need a mentor, go find it. Listen, take responsibility for that mentor-mentee relationship, and I'm telling you, you can go to another level. I did it, and I know that you can do it. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not the best looking guy. Well, maybe, but I'm not the I'm not the tallest guy in the room, right? I'm a short, dumpy, bald head guy, right? But guess what? I did it. With in the back of my screen, that's not a screensaver. That's my backyard, right? That's where is it here? That's my pier right here. Let me move this way. That's my pier right there, right? That's my backyard. Guess what? That can be your backyard too, if you want it, right? Get that book. I talk about that. And that's what it's all about, right? I walk 100 yards and I'm on that pier from my back balcony, right? You too can have all of that if you want it. You may not want that. You may want something else. You can have that if you're willing to do the grind. Sorry, but I had to go off on that.
Wow. And with that, what a way to close us out, Cedric. And I know so many of us, we are just taken in all that you said today. You heard him today. This is Cedric LaFleur, the visionary author of Million Dollar Beach House, My Journey to an Extraordinary, as he likes to say, his journey to his extraordinary life. Get your copy today. It's available for pre-ordering. We're going to put the link again in the chat. He also has provided us with contact information. If you are ready to get to the next level and are ready to take action, contact him. Reach out to Cedric, 832-722-0522, or also send him an email, cedric.lafleur2@gmail.com. We will be putting his contact details in the chat, but we will also be putting a link to pre-order his book today. You want to get the book today.
We're going to see who step up to the challenge and reach out and call.
And we are going to see who's going to step up to the challenge and reach out and call.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose out on this wonderful opportunity. I've ordered the book already. I've pre-ordered a copy, and I know many as well who have already pre-ordered. And go ahead and pre-order today. You know that there's going to be so much more value that he's going to add to you by reading this book. Thank you so much for giving us so much tonight, Cedric. It's been a lot that you shared with us today. I know myself that I have learned so much from you over the years, but today I learned even more from you. And so thank you so much for candidly sharing your story with the world. I want to thank you as well for just really being so open and continuing to be accessible, as you said, and being real with us about the journey that it takes, but also sharing where you came from, your background. We are so excited for the journey that you have ahead, and I can't wait myself to read this book. And so you heard him today. The reason why I wanted to have Cedric on today is this idea of overcoming obstacles is one that we talk about often in our society. Everyone loves a comeback story. Everyone loves a comeback kid. We love the movies. We love to read about stories of overcoming, stories of moving from certain places in life to moving up and being successful. But sometimes we don't necessarily hear from people directly to show us how you can move from where you are to where you want to be. And Cedric today has shared with us just a little bit. And I hope today that you have gained so much inspiration from him. I hope that you are also able to take the message today that you too can add value. You too can continue to live a life of significance. And that is why I had Cedric today, because he epitomizes my mantra, which is reaching higher mountaintops, living that life of significance and leaving a legacy, not just for himself and his family, but for many around this country and for the world. So thank you so much for joining us today. This is Cedric LaFleur, and I am your host, Dr. Tsitsi Hungwe. I am the Chief Executive of Higher Mountaintops. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope that you have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. Go order the book. Look forward to hearing from you.
Bye.